The degree to which the tar sands industry is affecting ecosystems and human health is becoming an international concern. The magnitude of the problem is immense. The expanding tar sands now cover an area over the size of Florida. The tar sands industry uses enough energy to heat 3 million homes on a daily basis. The tar sands are a dangerous and destructive method of extracting oil and have been proven to have adverse effects on people's health and on ecosystems. This slidecast will examine the magnitude of the impacts of the tar sands, including the impact on human health and on the environment. As well, this slidecast will examine the misinformation presented to the Canadian public and concerns related to the lack of consultation with Aboriginal people. It will show the disparity between information provided by industry and studies by scientists, as well as question whose interest is behind the information. The tar sands have been associated with increased cancer rates in the areas surrounding the Athabasca River. In 2003, Dr. John O'Connor was practicing in Fort Chipewyan when he found community members had higher rates of leukemia and bile duct cancer than the average Canadian. The community had leukemia rates that are 3 times higher and bile duct cancer rates that are 7 times higher than is to be expected. Dr. John O'Connor was forced to leave his practice in Fort Chipewyan due to an investigation by the Alberta College of Physicians and Surgeons that claimed he was causing undue alarm and engendering a sense of mistrust in the government in Fort Chipewyan. In 2009, O'Connor's name was cleared of these charges. The industry has been found to release 13 elements that are considered pollutants under the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Clean Water Act into the Athabasca River and its watershed. Some of these elements, including arsenic, mercury, and thallium, are carcinogenic and have been linked to human bile duct, liver, urinary tract, and skin cancers, as well as vascular diseases and type 2 diabetes. Interviews in the community of Fort Chipewyan found that loss due to cancer has become a reality for many people. The Alberta government acknowledges that there are higher rates of certain cancers in the region, but claim that there is not sufficient evidence to link the incidences of cancer to the oil sands operation. In the communities, people are afraid to fish and reluctant to drink the water, as they have seen cancer rates increase in their community since the tar sands. As well, Health Canada concluded that consumption of predatory fish should not exceed 1 meal per week. For many years, the federal and provincial government attributed the increase in cancer rates to a natural process of erosion, dismissing claims from Aboriginal people that there was a correlation between cancer and the tar sands. Dr. Schindler, a professor at the University of Alberta, found that there were many toxic elements in the areas surrounding the tar sands. Dr. Schindler concluded that there should be environmental monitoring, independent of industry, as it is unlikely that industry's monitoring is adequate when there is profit to be gained. In addition to impacts on human health, the tar sands have had a significant impact on the environment. The woodland caribou population has declined by 50% over the past decades. There have been 13 toxic metals detected in surrounding environments, and it is doubtful whether it is possible to reclaim aquifers and wetlands following the destruction from the industry. Fish in the area have been found to have high levels of mercury and other carcinogenic metals. As the main food source, fish are under investigation as the major potential polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon exposure for human populations. There has also been a reduction in water quality due to leaching from tailing ponds. It is estimated that 11 million liters leak each day from tailing ponds entering the Athabasca River and connecting waterways. The Canadian public has been subject to misinformation about the effects of the tar sands, both in terms of human health effects and environmental impact. There are significant disparities between information and claims presented by the industry and scientific studies. Studies found that significant quantities of polyaromatic compounds and trace metals accumulated in the snowpack were being released into the Athabasca River. This was occurring during spring melt, a time when fish embryos are developing. This was not reported by the Regional Aquatic Monitoring Program, RAMP, a supposedly independent monitoring organization supported by industry. Schindler noted the disconnect between his and RAMP's findings, concluding, among other things, that RAMP had failed to sample snowpack when looking for pollutants. The heightened attention that the tar sands received as a result of Schindler's findings resulted in the formation of the Federal Oil Sands Advisory Panel in 2010, which concluded that there were significant shortcomings in the existing monitoring system. Following Schindler's research, the Alberta government established its own panel to review the work of RAMP and also concluded that Schindler's claims were correct. It is clear that the Canadian public have grounds to question the information on the tar sands that is being provided by the industry. The misinformation or information gaps can also be found in relation to the environmental impacts. In Oil Sands Today, a website by the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers, land reclamation plans for the tar sands are discussed. The website mentions that oil sand productions perform reclamation on an ongoing basis. However, there are no details as to what this actually entails. Clearly, there is discrepancy between what scientists have found in terms of pollutants and what the industry and the government are sharing with the public. Finally, the issue of consultation with Indigenous people is key. There is discussion as to whether consultation with Aboriginal people in the areas surrounding the tar sands has been adequate, or whether the tar sands are even legal. Two lawyers conclude that the current consultation process do not meet the Supreme Court standards, suggesting that the province must create a plan which identifies the impacts of tar sands on Aboriginals and their treaty rights. There needs to be a complete review of government resource legislation to ensure that Aboriginal people's rights are respected and that they are part of the decision-making. The Alberta government claims that Aboriginal peoples are a large part of the decision-making process and that feedback from Aboriginal people is deeply valuable. However, interviews reveal that Aboriginal people, or many, feel that their voices are not valued or heard. It has been revealed that there is a strong disconnect between what the industry is reporting about the tar sands and what scientists and members of the community are finding. It is clear that different interests are represented. Perhaps we cannot expect industry, which has an interest in the advancement and expansions of the tar sands, to have the best interests of community health and the environment in mind.